Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to review one of my recent games and explain every item decision I made. So let's not waste time and jump straight into it. The first choice that can indirectly influence your item decision is the region portal carousel at stage 0. It's your first indicator of what synergy you might play, so it increases the value of certain component. There is also a direct impact. If you go to the portal with the fossil symbol, one of your options will be Eevee with a fossil stone. So if you want that kind of start, you should aim for that portal. For my first pick, I go for Swinub and Magnet. The main reason is that Magnet is, in my opinion, the second most flexible component in the game, right after Chorkle. I made a small graphic to show this. Green are generally strong items, blue are situational and average, and red are the weakest. You can pause and check it. Another benefit is getting one step closer to Piloswine. He's one of the best early game carries and also opens up the grand synergy. I don't really like Eevee starts because they force you to craft a stone early, which limits your flexibility later. Poliwag with glasses was a decent option since I like crit builds, but Magnet just gives me more. After the first PvE round, I get black glasses. At this point I already knew a crit setup is very close. My favorite version is Spell Crit. The game also starts giving me aquatic units, so that becomes my first possible direction. Now we get a decision with multiple options, so let's break them down. First, Magnet. Like I said, it's very flexible, but I already have one. Taking a second pushes me more toward AD, which makes black glasses a bit awkward. It's not essential for crit at this stage. Second, hard scale. You shouldn't focus only on offense. Defensive components early can be very impactful. I could already craft Muscle Band, which is really strong, but it moves me away from a crit setup. I choose Nevermelt Ice because it keeps my options open. I value it more than hard scale since it builds into more interesting items. With Magnet, it can also make loaded dice if I go for AD sets. At this point, I also see that my early game will likely revolve around aquatic, ice or water synergies. Still, nothing is fully decided yet. After PvE, I get hard scale anyway, so Muscle Band becomes available. First component carousel, with limited time setting priorities is key. I already have Piloswine, so that's my early carry. Muscle Band fits him really well, so going for a bruiser setup makes sense. Black glasses don't help me much here, and I don't like crafting Wonderbox this early. So my priority is ice related components. Best option, Chorkle for Shellball. Second, Mystic Water for Stardust, which adds survivability. I managed to get Chorkle. Now before the first PvP, you need to evaluate your strength. If you feel strong and have good items, you should commit. In my case, it's an easy decision. Piloswine with Shellball and Muscle Band is really scary early. If you have time, it's also good to do a quick scout. The first PvP didn't really test my strength because I got matched with AFK player. That actually gave me a good opportunity to scout others, and I already saw a bug poison roster, which is always a threat at this stage. First ad pick. Fossil Stone is too risky here since only water and ice stones are useful for me. The other two options are both strong. Diglett opens a ground angle. Nosepass activates rock synergy for Graveler, especially since I saw 2 Geodudes in the shop, which could help with an early win streak. I go for Chorkle because I already crafted an item with Magnet, and if I don't get another glasses, I prefer Razor Claw over Razor Fang. Both choices here were good. The next PvP was actually really hard. My opponents had 3 items and strong normal synergy, but at this stage evolutions matters more, and I also had a solid synergy bonuses and I managed to win this fight. I scout again to see what's contested. Water Aquatic is being played by other players, which makes it harder for me to commit to it. The PvP fight again shows that I have strong synergy, good items and solid units. Almost an ideal early composition. Second ad pick. Again, Fossil isn't great. Vulpix can be scary and I don't want to pick it. After scouting, it wasn't useful for others either, but still not for me. Mystic Water was okay, but it didn't help me build a core item. So I go for a Magnet. Nickit is annoying, but there are no Dark Earth Field comps yet, and Magnet helps me move toward a crit build. The PvP again shows that my roster is a monster right now. Digging didn't really give me anything useful here. Before Gyarados, I adjust my positioning based on my previous guide just to avoid surprises. I also scout again to set my portal priority. I actually have a lot of options there. After beating Gyarados, I get another Magnet, which opens more AD possibilities. Now I need to choose my portal. Since other players are going Water Aquatic, I prefer Ice. Out of those options, it's also the best for AD setups. I get Lapras, which is really lucky. Even after nerfs, is still a great unit and I already have good items for him. So immediately replace my main carry. I also level up to maintain tempo and continue my streak. To push tempo even more, I take Punching Glove. Lotat is actually a good temporary holder and I wanted some range damage. The other item options just didn't give me as much value. Another ad pick. 3 good options here. Chorkal gets me closer to AD sets but limits flexibility. Magnet with Kupchu fits perfectly with my comp and synergies well with Punching Glove. Second, Black Glasses would open more crit options. Kupchu is too good here, so I take it. I sell Lotat and giving Punching Glove to another unit, and that also lets me activate Amorphous 3, which boosts the whole team. I think about crafting X-Ray Vision. It could be great with Glove, but it would make my glasses awkward. Also, I still don't know if I'm committing to Aquatic or Ice. So I decided to wait. And here I get my first loss. Lapras is strong, but I'm missing evolutions, which makes my overall board weaker. Next carousel. Spell Crit is still my preferred direction, so Glasses or Spoon are ideal. Since I'm at the top of the lobby, I expect limited options, but I actually get Glasses, which is great. Since I lost my streak, there is no rush, I can focus on economy. I get matched with an AFK player again, so after an easy win I start building toward another streak, but still without forcing anything. Lapras with these items is just really strong, and it's carrying hard. But you can also see that Vanillite with Punching Glove is putting in work as well. And just like that I start another win streak. After beating Mew and Mewtwo, I get choice of 3 components. Miracle Seed is out. It doesn't combine well with my glasses and magnets. So the decision is simple, what kind of crit setup I want. If I go AD with Chorkal, I can craft Razor Claw and Razor Fang. If I go Spell Crit with Spoon, I can craft Reaper Claw and Razor Fang alone already gives decent crit chances. I choose Spell Crit, it fits better with my decision. Especially since I'm leaning toward Aquatic 8 with Ice support and Sobble will likely be part of my final comp. Also, potential legendary like Manphy or Volcanion can use it, but Drizzile feels like the most reliable carry at this point, so I craft the item immediately. But now there is a problem, I don't really have a good temporary holder for it. Vanillite would be best, but he is part of my final comp, so I need to figure that out. Even without using my full crit setup, Lapras and Vanillite are strong enough to win the next PvP. I get Snorunt in the shop. Even though I probably won't need him late game, he could be a good temporary holder for spell crit set. The problem is I can't fit him into my comp without breaking synergies. I don't see a clean way to do it, so I skip. I was also in a good position, so I didn't want to rush. Looking back, I could have pushed tempo, level up to 8, spent gold and added Snorunt. With a win streak, I would have recovered economy quickly and started rolling for Sobble earlier. That would have been a good play. This fight is interesting, both of us have uniques with similar items. My opponent has a better equipped range carry, but I have stronger synergies and better overall board. And in the end, it's still a convincing win from my side. And again, no aggressive moves were needed to win the next fight. Next carousel. At this point I only have Magnet, and the Xatu box isn't relevant yet since I'm too healthy to get those components soon. So I focus on what I can combine with Magnet. Since I'm still at the top, my choices are limited. I checked what items I can build. Lapras already has Muscle Band, so I don't need another one. I would rather go for something offensive. Chorkal or Glasset would give me duplicate items which limit flexibility, especially since I will get more components soon. So Spoon become the best option. Upgrade was also not bad, it would fit Lapras and Vanillite, but Spoon gives me better further option. Because I didn't find Sobble early, would have actually be very useful for the next 2 PvP fights. Also due to some luck I couldn't fully adjust my board. Sobble missed part of the setup and Aquatic 8 wasn't activated. Timing is really tight in this situation. Still, it was a good matchup against Poison Team, so I won't too worried and win that fight. Now I finally have a proper range carry, Sobble. I give him the items before getting a legendary because Drizzile with Spell Crit is just really strong and my other options aren't better holders. Getting Aquatic 8 is a bit awkward, I don't want to drop Vanillish, so I'm aiming for Dratini and Frigibax to activate Dragon 3. But again, I'm not under pressure, so I can take my time. In this fight, Sobble actually performs poorly, but the rest of the comp is so strong that I still win comfortably, even without surfing Pikachu. Then things get stressful. My internet starts lagging, I have to stop recording and reconnect. Luckily I get back to the game and reassume recording. Now we jump to stage 22. We start with a carousel, but first, quick recap. I got Keldeo as my legendary. From Tower Duo I received components for Ability Shield, Spoon and Seed. Around stage 20 I also picked up another spoon and magnet, so now I need to decide what to craft. First though, choice Specs with Gracidia flower. That would be a strong combo. Specs on Sobble gives huge burst and Gracidia and Vanillish adds value. Looking back, that was probably better choice, but I go for Ability Shield instead. I also craft Upgrade and I give it to Lapras to increase his speed, regen and overall impact. It wasn't a standard choice. Upgrade usually goes on range units, but Lapras lives long enough to benefit from it. I'm not fully sure it was correct, but it had its reasoning. Back to the carousel. Since I already crafted items, my priority is something for Sobble or Keldeo or as a second option. Third option would be Water Stone to activate Water Tree. I wanted Soldew, but it got taken last second, so I go for Aqua Egg. It helps Sobble cast more often. I skip the stone because I would need to adjust my comp too much. In the fight, Lapras still shows how strong he is. At this point I have 2 fully equipped units. Next priority is Keldeo, then Vanillish. After the legendary birds fight, I get item options. Scope Lens isn't useful, I don't have enough crit synergy for it. I take Stardust for Keldeo, but honestly, that's a mistake. Power Lens would have been much better, especially with Ice synergy activate. Stardust still gives some survivability and helps cast faster, but it's not optimal. Power Lens would have helped a lot here, especially against heavy casting comps. I get destroyed in one fight, clear sign I need stronger Ice synergy. Then stage 26 shows how strong Drizzle is with special crit and good positioning. That win was all about positioning. First town encounter. No synergy items for Aquatic or Dragon, so I just look for raw value. Metal Coat and Poker's Vial are the only real options here. I go for Metal Coat, simple, and give it to Keldeo, making him very tanky. I start losing fights. I really need Frigibax to stabilize. Next item choice. I skip upgrades since it's mainly for Vanillish. I won't give Drizzle as much time as possible, so I look for defensive options. Green Orb is good, but my opponents have a lot of AoE, so I won't get full value. So I take Shiny Charm. It gives Keldeo extra survivability and works well with Stardust. I face a strong Water Psychic team again, and I lose. Bad positioning and weaker comp. I finally open the Xatu box and get Shellball. I give it to Keldeo for immediate impact. Frigibax isn't evolved yet, so he's not worth investing in right now. I also underestimate the value of the ticket I got. My focus was too much on finding evolutions. The fight is closer this time, but still a loss. Honestly, this is a bit embarrassing, even for me, because I made a positioning guide and I clearly missed how important it was there. Final fight. I win mainly because of luck. Drizzle survives longer this time and I finally hit some key evolutions. And that's how the game went. Would you do anything differently? Did you see better line or strategy? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye!